He's been very fast over the last races. I'm expecting him to be fast again today and really put up a fight here too.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of these drivers have improved quite a bit from the beginnings of the F2, where we had, the first couple races, everybody's spinning out, everybody's having a hard time getting going, and Lewis Cologne jumps up to second place there. Everybody's having a hard time with, staying on track, for a full race, and it's grown so much since then. It's gotten so much better, and we see these drivers being a lot more consistent. We're not seeing the little mistakes where we're sliding off track and spinning out like we used to. So all that competition has just gotten closer and closer. But with that comes cars that are closer and closer too, and we see in the last few races some bumps, some bruises. Elbows are out quite a bit, and you have a little bit of bumping on track that causes some issues. So we're hoping that we don't have any, and we have some clean racing today. But with how close everything's going to be, I can almost guarantee we're going to see a bump or two.
Looks like Byram has a handy lead on everyone and is holding the provisional pole at this point in time. See if anybody else here can catch him up. Watching, I believe, Lewis at this point.
Yep, we have 11 minutes in, so a lot of these drivers are going to be going for their second stint, which you got to get these tires up to temp. And we've said that all throughout the season. These tire temps are crucial for a fast lap, but you have to get those tires up to temp at the perfect temp while you have almost no fuel in the tank for your last lap, and pairing that is a hard thing to do. So you normally want to take 2 or 3 shots at it during your qualifying. So we're going to see drivers coming back out for another stint. Normally you time your stints at about 5 minutes to 10 minutes, so then you can do 2 to 3 stints throughout your qualifying. Some even do 4 to 5. They do shorter stints and can get those tires up to temp a lot quicker. So we will see how things are going. But as of right now, Lewis Archer sitting down in 10th. Obviously has not had a full lap under qualifying, as we saw him going third fastest in practice. So we'll see what happens as our qualifying session goes on.
And we did see Byram set another fastest sector on his last time around too, so he is just tearing it up today.
Yeah, Byram always quick, and especially home Grand Prix. He wants to come on out and show everybody, he's not just gonna let Lewis take the title, and B, he's not gonna let Lewis take his home Grand Prix either, because they're both fighting for a home victory today. Being teammates, it just adds another level of competition and the level of push that we're going to see out of these guys.
That's right. And Alex, we should probably take a moment to just thank our sponsors too. Butt Kicker for providing prizes for our season winners, as well as Designs Ltd for providing additional prizes, GTR Graphics for doing a lot of our graphics work, and Automoto GP.
Yep, and we don't want to forget Major's Garage as well. And
That's right.
We will be having another sponsor for next season that we've picked up in Demon Tweaks. We can see that on some of the CUDA cars already. The Evo and the GTR cars that are out there in the Rob Slider and Ivan Boutkamp. So already a couple cars picking up those sponsors, but we will see them as a sponsor for next season. So yeah, we're picking up sponsors left and right so we can provide a great broadcast and a great series for these drivers here.
And that is a great sponsor for our series, for any race series. Demon Tweaks is one of the world's largest providers of automotive performance parts, and of course a favorite amongst racers.
Yep, yeah, and they provide a lot of not just real life parts, but sim racing parts as well. So you can get gloves and racing shoes. Racing, if you want to get crazy with it as a sim racer, you can throw yourself into full simulation mode and get a racing suit. Whole 9 yards. You can do and get just about anything through them. So we're very glad to pick them up. and look forward to seeing what prizes await from Demon Tweaks in the future. But for now, let's take a look at what weather we're driving in today. And right now, we are at Silverstone, which is a 3.6 mile track in England. We are sitting at an ambient temperature of 70 degrees, which is matching our track temperature. We don't get that a lot. So we will see humidity at 44% there, partly cloudy, and an 8-mile-an-hour wind, which is a little higher than we've seen. And that wind can really affect these cars that really rely on that high downforce and that really high amount of wind. If it's a crosswind coming across your nose, it's going to try and blow you across the track in the opposite direction that you're trying to go. It can really kill speed if it's in your face, and it can really give you an advantage if it's to your back. So these drivers are going to have to adjust for that big wind speed. We're going to be going around for 40 laps with 20 plus drivers normally on our grid, so we will see what we get today for a number of drivers. As of right now, I think we're sitting at 12 with more to come. So let's jump back to our qualifying. Let's see who else is starting to get some times in. Baukamp getting that time down. A lot of people on their out laps here, really trying to just catch Chris Byron, but a 141.9 is a very, very, very hard time to get up to, and we see Archer right here warming his tires. Got a couple drivers around each other right now. Eric Beddoes driving Lewis Cologne right there with him. He's just going to squeeze on past. Lewis Cologne on his out lap might be giving Bunting a little bit of a tow here down the straight. Bunting does not go for the tow. But we are 16 minutes in, almost 17 at this point. So we will see some of these guys getting a little pushy on the track, saying, hey, I need to get my time in. I just want to, get my time down, get moving, and, whoever's in my way, I'm going to shove past them. So we see a little bit of that with Cologne and Bunting.
Yeah, and we do have time for a few more laps here, but we are getting close, like you said. So there is potential for these positions to move around, for our grid to switch up as our drivers set their best times in these last few laps. But yeah, we're getting close to the wire. All these laps have to count now. These drivers need to be 100% on and doing their best work right now.
Yep. Yeah, and we see a lot of people out. Only 3 cars in the pits right now. 1 on his out lap with Daniel Thomas, but the rest of them are on track, putting down times and warming those tires, getting ready for their optimal lap. And we're not seeing a whole lot of green or purple down at the bottom of the screen for our drivers there, which means most of them are probably just getting their tires up to temp. And Schegeman still does not have a time. We know he's a quick driver. We know he's got some real good pace, especially in the F3 division. He is really quick, probably one of the top 3 drivers in that division. But F2 car is a different story. We know he's fast here, but he is no longer in that top driver hunt when it comes to the F2s. He is in the higher skill level, and it shows just how skilled these drivers are when you go from being the top driver, one of the top 2 drivers in a series below, and then they come out to a series above, and the car is a little harder to handle. The competition's a lot more competitive, and you have issues like what we see here. He's going off track, he's pushing too hard, he's out of his comfort zone. So hopefully we see Cristiano Schegeman get down a time and really get his head in the game and get the groove going here. So, but Baukamp looking fairly good. Probably just getting those tires up to temp, seeing as we do not have a green sector from him yet in this lap. But let's ride along Ivan's going to be coming up to the end of the lap here. So we're going to jump on board with Ivan as he does. And if you could, Eli, take us through a lap with Ivan.
Absolutely.
Oh, never mind. He decided he did not want to go for a lap. Let's find a driver that's about to start a hot lap here. We'll go on board with Steve Bunting instead, since he's coming to the end of the lap. Hopefully he doesn't go to the pits. He's going to the pits too. Oh my goodness, we just can't find a driver that wants to do a lap. Rob Slater in the pits behind them too. Lewis Archer coming up. Let's follow Lewis Archer today. Yep, he's going for a lap. So let's follow him.
Sounds good. All right, he's coming through Vale and Club right now. All right, he is now on the front straight here. He's going to be hitting this fairly hard, with just a little bit of a lift coming through Abbey. Through Farm, it's pretty much full throttle, hard braking, down into second. He's going to try to pull it to the right so he can get a good run on this turn here. Back in first, and he's going to be hard throttle here. This is Brooklands. It's going to be braking probably around the 50 here. And down into third, pulling it as far over as he can. Down into second. Trail braking. Pulling it off, and you can see him catching a little bit of a slide there. He's now full throttle. He's going to pull close to the wall. This is a very fast series of turns coming up here. On full throttle. Down into it, try to pull it to the right. He's full throttle right to the end here. You see a little bit of a lift at the end of this straight. That does look like it. Right at the end here. These are literally the last laps here. His line is looking really solid here, Alex. If he can get his pace, I think he'll be good today. This is starting to look like the grid I expected today, Alex. Looking at Byram, Archer, Shigeman, Baukamp, and Cologne, and then obviously Gutnick as well, all very fast. And we're looking at Thomas as well, rising in the ranks here.
Yep, and we have, Thomas. His speed is always there. His luck, not so much. He's always found a way to have some bad luck in the race, and let's hope that he's able to pull away from that and get himself a little bit more luck this race and just stay clean.
So what's the pit strategy for today, Alex? What are you thinking?
Well, we're 40 laps, so you can go the middle of the road route, which is 20 laps, pit 20 laps. You can go, and split it up. Since it's a nice even number, 40, you can go 10 laps, pit. You should have enough fuel if you filled all the way up to go to the end and try for the undercut. These tires do have a little bit of wear on them, whereas the F3 series that runs as well does not have nearly as much when it comes to tire degradation. So an undercut's not normally a good option for that series, but this series you can pull it off. It's not as strong as real life F1, but an undercut is definitely available. You can also try and fill up and try and go as fast and as far as you can on a full tank. Go about 3/4 of the race, as we see Baukamp jump up into second and push Schegemann down and Archer down. But if you do that, you're going to have to hold on to those tires for a really long time. And if you have somebody who pits in the middle of the race or somebody who pits at the beginning of the race, they're going to have a lot fresher tires than you. While you're trying to get your tires up to temperature for the last 10 laps. So it can go really either way. I think the best strategy for a track like Silverstone, where it eats tires, is to go 20 and 20. You get a good push for 20 laps, and you get a really good push for your final stint without really having any significant loss due to tire degradation. So I think a nice even split would be the best thing for this race today, especially if we get a safety car. If we get a safety car, then you can make that long strategy work. So that might be another thing that the drivers consider is, are we thinking we're going to get a safety car? Are we going to plan for it? How are we going to go about it? So it could come down to whether a safety car makes it a harder thing to overcome, or if we have a nice clean race to where you're just running your fastest laps. I think a 20-20 would be the best way to go.
Well, I think you're right on the money with those strategies, and we've seen multiple times, if there's one person that can conserve tires, can conserve fuel, and really make them count when it matters, it's Archer.
Yep.
I've seen him do it time and time again.
Yep, Lewis Archer can make those tires last, and we've seen them last way longer than we thought possible, and he's going on 0 life left on the tires, and they're still able to put down competitive laps. It's just kind of crazy to see sometimes, but just like real life F1, you have some of those drivers that can in a Checo Perez or a Lewis Hamilton that can save the tires like Lewis Archer can, and like even Chris Byram saves his tires fairly well throughout the race. But then you have drivers that just eat their tires up, and they're fast, but then their tires are gone really quickly. So you got to have that balance between fast and nice and easy on the tires. You don't want to push one way too hard or the other. So it's very important, A, for tire temp, and and then B, for speed to be kept up. But let's take a look at our qualifying results. And we have Chris Byram taking pole at his home Grand Prix, which we kind of expected either him or Lewis Archer to, and we see Lewis Archer right behind him in second. Ivan Baukamp and Cristiano Schegemann both from, I believe they are the Netherlands there. They are both Dutch. We have Ivan and Cristiano Schegemann taking up third and fourth. Louis Cologne and Alex Gutnick in fifth and sixth. Daniel Thomas and Don Day locking out row 4 in 7th and 8th. Rob Slider and Eric Beddoes in positions 9 and 10. And then Corey Schartzer and Steve Bunting for positions 11 and 12 to round out our grid today. Right now we're in warm-up, but what are you thinking is going to happen here on lap 1?
Well, I think we're going to see a fight off of the starting line. Obviously, Byram and Archer going hard, but I wouldn't put it past Baukamp and Schegemann to be hot on their heels, if not taking advantage of that battle between Byram and Archer. Of course, Louis Cologne's going to be hot on their heels and really pushing it hard. He's a fierce competitor. He's been scoring points season long and definitely not giving it up today.
Yep, I kind of agree there. I think we're going to have pairs of fights going on. I think we're going to have Chris Byram and Louis Archer fighting. I think we're going to have Baukamp and Schegemann fighting. Now I think we're going to have a three-way fight between Cologne, Gutnick, and Thomas. And I think we're going to have another three-way fight between Day, Slider, and Beddoes. And then Scharzer and Bunting at the end will be fighting each other as well. I think we're just going to have a bunch of slipstream, trading of positions and a lot of fighting, which eventually we see it a lot. Eventually will probably end in a wreck of some sort sometime throughout the track. So let's hope we stay clean, and let's hope we have tight racing throughout the whole field. A lot of straights here at Silverstone, a lot of time to be made up just in the slipstream, so we could see a real tight grid today. But I think the main fights are going to be split up between 2 or 3 drivers throughout the track.
That sounds correct. And now before we get on to the race, let's talk a little bit about Silverstone. This is one of the most historic tracks in our series, and not only that, but in the real world series. It was originally an Air Force base, the Royal Air Force, back between 43 and 46. But interestingly, it was also the location of the very first World Championship Grand Prix, originally carrying the title of the European Grand Prix. It's also the only racing event, that very first racing event, where there was a reigning monarch that attended a motorsport race in Britain, and that was King George the Sixth and Queen Elizabeth. So a pretty interesting history here, and this track is near and dear to the drivers, the drivers on track today, and just drivers worldwide.
Yep, yeah, it's one of those tracks that just everybody loves to come and race at. You don't have to be from the UK in order to enjoy this track. It's one of those iconic ones that if you see it on the track map, you know what it is, you know where it's at, you know the history behind it. So it's quite a big impact on the drivers when they're racing here. Everybody wants to win, especially the guys from the UK. So we have Chris Byram again, Lewis Archer, Eric Beddoes, and Steve Bunting are all going to want a piece of the podium and the win being at home. So it's just another level of pride that these guys have from the UK with this track. It's just something different, something special about it.
That's right, and it's challenging. It's fast. It has these sections like Maggots and Beckett's that are just quick and challenging. And I got to tell you, I have fun driving it. How about you, Alex?
Oh yeah. Driving it throughout the week. I love driving it. It's a ton of fun. And it just, it challenges you. You can go through, like you said, Maggots and Beckett's hundreds of times, thousands of times. But it's always going to be, slightly different every time you go through it. You're never going to hit it the same. It's just such a challenging track, but it's so much fun at the same time. It's just something else, being able to go out and really nail those corners. When you hit those corners here, it's every lap is a little victory if you can nail it. And as we
are just moments away now.
Yep, we're coming down to warm-up end. We will be lining up on the grid, being led by Chris Byram here. And as we see, Schegetman's ready, Archer is ready, Byram is ready. Schegetman off the track. These cars are ready to go.
Oh, I'm so excited. Here it is.
Lights are on. And we are lights out. Chris Byram gets a good start, tries to go and cut off Lewis Archer. He just gets in front of him, but he has a real shallow. Ooh, and 2 cars off. 3 cars. Byram and Archer in turn 1. Both off, crashing into each other, taking out, I believe that might have been one of the Cuda Evo cars in Ivan Baukamp, but Baukamp's going. We have Gutnick out in first. What a surprise there. Daniel Thomas in second and Schegetman in third. We have Daniel Thomas making a move. just gets in front, but Gutnick has the inside. Thomas taking the wide route. We have 4 cars fighting for the lead. Gutnick, Schegeman, and Slider. Wow. What a start to the race. Not sure that we're going to get a safety car because all of that happened off track. They slid and cleared the track there. We have a little bit of a wide run by Schegeman. Thomas leading. And can Thomas break his bad luck streak here? Oh, Schegeman gets into the back of Rob Slider. Ooh, and teammates getting together there. I'm sure this will warrant a yellow. We have cars all over the track in the middle of Maggots and Beckett's, that high speed sector there. Cars missing pieces. Ooh, wow. And there it is, the yellow. That might save the race for a couple of these drivers. Wow. What a start to Silverstone. Let's go back.
What a start indeed. What a start.
Let's go back and see what exactly happened here. Nope, this is Lewis just losing it a little bit after he got going again. Got to go all the way back to our green flag. Let's see. We get our start here. We're going to slow it down. We have Chris Byram holding off Lewis Archer, and Lewis Archer just gets the back of Byram the slightest bit, and Ivan Baukamp tries to go by, but just loses his front end there into the side of Chris, which allows Thomas and Gutnick by. Cristiano Schegeman losing a couple positions there. Rob Slider right behind him there. And wow, just chaos going on all over the track. Chris Byram around. We have Eric Beddoes turned around. Lewis Archer through the crowd there. Wow, just what an amazing start to this race. The 2 leaders out. The car that was in third, Ivan Baukamp, damaged. And that opens it up to be anybody's race at this point. Watch this again here. Such a slow start for Cristiano Schegeman. Gutnick gets by him. And then we just have the off in the corner. Gutnick by, Thomas by. Wow, what a way to dodge these cars. And then we saw the fight going down the turns 3 and 4, and then going down the straight towards Brooklands. And just that slipstream gave it to Daniel Thomas to be able to get that done. We're going to ride on board here. This is Alex Gutnick. And just, whew, some craziness happening out in front of him. Wow. We'll watch Daniel Thomas with a great start there. Splits the 2 turning point cars. Wow. He went from, I believe he was in 7th on the starting grid, to now he leads our race. What a great start.
Really crazy, really crazy.
Let's see.
Very intense. But as we said, everybody's fighting hard today, so we're going to see a lot of this, I think. A lot of tangles.
We see Rob Slider from the back following that draft of Daniel Thomas and Alex Gutnick. You see him dodging cars, and he's in 4th. He gets tapped a little later on in the lap, but what a start. He's just following the train at this point. Everybody's closed in around each other. And it's when we get to Maggots and Beckett's that we see a little bit of a bump. craziness going on. We'll watch from Lewis Archer's point of view. Chris is just squeezing him to the wall. Byram just not giving him any room. And then Byram brakes a little too hard, knowing that he has to brake that extra, and just doesn't leave anything for Archer to be able to work with there. Byram resets to the pits, which is going to actually probably cost him more than it did Archer, because Archer being able to get going again is going to be huge.
Our pace car lights are off now, Alex, so we are last lap before we go green again.
We can hop back to our pace car here as we see Thomas having a little bit of fun with the iRacing sim, seeing how far into that pace car he can keep. But these cars are going to be trying to keep them temps up. Let's check our pit stops. And we have a stop from the following: Schartzer, Baukamp, Schegetman, Slider, Archer, Cologne, and Byram all have stopped. Some for damage, some might think they might be able to get to the end of the race. I am not quite sure that strategy would work if they were trying it. A for tires, you're only 3 laps in, and then B for, just sheer being able to keep that much fuel in the car. I don't think there's enough capacity. So we'll see how this works. They're about halfway through the track now. Coming up the Cops corner here.
Yeah, it's probably too early for those pit stops to have been a full refuel and enough to get them to the end. We're still probably looking at additional stops towards the end of the race here for those that have taken a pit at this point, I would think, Alex.
Yep, I definitely would think so as well. Just a little too early, and if we didn't have that second crash in Maggots and Beckett's area, I think we would have continued on, but it just got a little carried away. Too much going on with those high-speed corners. Cars beached in the middle of a high-speed corner where you're just throwing it into the corner is not something that you want to be running with. So good job from our officials to get the race reset. We'll get a nice little push here. And the big question is going to be, is Thomas going to wait until he is at the line, or is he going to try and push through that final complex there to try and get a jump on the other cars that are not through the complex yet, that really have to take it a little slower?
That's right. Now you constantly see drivers sort of holding off after that safety car leaves the track. How surprising would it be if he just took off right away?
I think it would be surprising if he took off as soon as the pace car went out into the pits. The pace car has to get into the pits before he can go, and it's such a long pit lane entry, as we'll see here coming around the corner. Let's see if our camera angle captures it. But you can see pit car going into the pit lane now. It's a long pit straight. And let's see when Daniel decides he wants to go. He is holding up, and he's off now. Oh, and he spins it! Too much on the gas, and Gutnick takes the lead. We are green. Daniel Thomas coming onto the track in front of his teammate Ivan Baukamp, or behind him now. What a bad series of events. He tried to just push it too hard.
Cold tires every time.
Yep, those cold tires coming out of such a bad turn-in for that complex. And wow, what a gap we have forming right now. Gutnick and Don Day putting a big jump on the rest of the field. And as of right now, Gutnick is starting to pull away just the slightest bit. Wow, we got some intense racing here going into Cops. Ooh, a little bit of side-by-side action. 3 wide. Going into Maggots and Beckett's now. We saw it before. This is where we had some accidents. Whew. Wow. Real tight racing here at the back of the grid. Shegetman putting a move on Daniel Thomas. Shegetman almost getting a little bit of a bump there. He is making it stick. Might have gone a little bit wide, but I think he actually kept it on the curb. Daniel Thomas going wide again. Oop, getting into his own head at this point, I think. Got a little bit of bad luck on that start, but you gotta collect yourself and get it back together here. He definitely has the pace, as we saw. Just gotta
know these
keep it
these
together.
CUDA setups can be right razor's edge, so he might be struggling with that car too. Who knows?
Yep, and especially with gas, it's such a difference as compared to being no gas, and you know you're light as a feather. When you have all that weight shifting around going through these turns, it can be a huge disadvantage, and you got to practice that during the week. And we're seeing Baukamp coming up on Eric Beddoes here. Beddoes driving him a little bit wide. Oof. Beddoes jumping into that slipstream, coming up to Copps here. Beddoes hangs on. We see Don Day hanging on there, about a second back from Alex Gutnick. Gutnick has the advantage down the back sector and in the middle, where we have a little bit more of a complex straight there. But the straight line speed of Don Day and being in that slipstream is really helping him. Ooh, and we have Daniel Thomas. What a turn of events for him. He slides out coming out of Maggots and Beckett's. And he is in last. Let's see what he can do.
He's just struggling. I have to think it's got to be that car setup. It's just got to be. Maybe he's not comfortable with it. Maybe the temperature is different today. It could be the weight, like you said. But boy, it's really giving him a tough time.
Yep, and we see Ivan Baukamp with a 1:45.2, putting down the fastest lap of the race so far. And we see, ooh, Eric Beddoes trying to keep up there with Baukamp, just can't get that turn in at the right angle. And we have Byram in fourth, trying to chase down that lead. He's not far back. I love seeing this right here. I love seeing a train of cars coming down the straight, all not wanting to give up, all not wanting to give an inch of space, just fighting each other.
It counts. Every place counts. The points are gonna tell you know who's champion, who's not.
And we have Rob Slider, ooh, almost taking out Lewis Archer. Wow, that was really close. Rob just trying not to move, and he gets it turned around. Gutnick still putting a little bit of a gap there on Don Day, 1.6 seconds now. Baukamp another 2.4 back from Don Day. As we jump into our train of cars here, we're going to follow Chris Byram, who's leading that train and catching up to Ivan Baukamp ever so slightly. And Eric Beddoes doing a good job to keep into that slipstream. We see it all throughout the laps. It's really hard to stay in a slipstream and keep going, just because you have all that dirty air lifting your front wing, so you don't have nearly as much downforce through the high-speed turns as you normally would. So it's hard to follow really closely, like we see Shegetman doing to Beddoes, and Beddoes even doing to Byram right now.
It's fun for me to see Don Day up there in the top three, Alex. I think the first time that happened this season was actually the very first race of the season at Monza. He put up quite a show that day.
Yep, I believe. I'm not sure if he won that race, but I know he was definitely up there. I think Don's won one of our IFL2 races here. So he definitely has the speed. He has the ability to get a win, as long as he keeps that pace up and keeps that consistency is the big thing. As we see Shegetman. Ooh, Eric Beddoes goes off track. Shegetman gets past him.
That's allowed Archer up into 6th now from his 8th place position.
Yep, Archer right now fighting with Lewis Cologne, who he's gotten by. But Cologne's he's not gonna back off. Cologne is very good at keeping in that slipstream and keeping a close race for these drivers here. The setups will vary, but when you're in the slipstream, it's just something different. You just get that boost.
He's also increasing his tire wear, though, too, right, Alex? He's driving in that dirty air. It's going to take a toll.
Yep, those tires will wear that little bit more. Like I said, he doesn't have that downforce to keep him on the track with that front wing. Those tires will slide just slightly more, and when that happens, you lose your tire, and it just eventually will say, "Hey, there's no more left," and it'll give up on you. Normally, it's at around that 60% tire degradation, to where these tires are just unusable, and you normally will get a puncture. Once you hit that 70% tire degradation. So we should see, especially a track like Silverstone that just eats up tires, we should see a big fall off coming around that lap 20 to 25 mark. As we said before, though, Lewis Archer great at keeping his tires alive, so we'll see if he can't push farther than that. We have Corey Schartzer here, closest gap with him and Steve Bunting right now. And we'll take a look at Alex Gutnick, who is trying to put a little bit more of a gap in between himself and Don Day. Great race from him so far. Avoided the turn 1 incident, avoided the, just by being ahead of it, avoided the Maggots and Beckett's incident, and somehow dodged Daniel Thomas on that restart.
And speaking of Thomas, I mean, how sad is it to see Thomas as the first one out of this race? He put up such a good show in the first few laps, and here we are. He's out early. What a terrible turnout for him.
Yep, yeah, and we hate to see that. You know, he was in such a good position, and sometimes you have one thing go wrong and it just cascades into a second thing's gone wrong, and then a third, and then a fourth, and then all of a sudden you find yourself you're in last and you don't know what just happened. Just a bunch of series of events have gone on, and you just can't believe it, and it's demoralizing beyond belief to say, hey, I was just in first and had a really good chance at a good restart, and now I'm in last. It's tough mentally. So Thomas being out, we hate to see it, but we hope that he comes back next week and puts up a good show, because we know he's got the pace. Like I said, we just have to see him get past that bad luck and get some more consistency, and not be so jumpy on his decisions. I think his decisions are very, just in the heat of the moment. And when that happens and it's not a pre-thought out decision, and you haven't practiced it and you haven't tried that decision throughout the week, I think it becomes, a 50-50 shot whether or not that decision to restart like that works, or a decision to make an overtake or make a pass or try, like we saw with Chris Byram and Lewis Archer in turn 1. They probably have not tested, hey, what happens when we both go into turn 1 and I'm on the inside and you're on the outside, or I'm cutting you off, or it's all a heat of the moment, and when you haven't practiced it, it makes it hard to make a decision right off the get-go. Yes, I'm going to make this kind of starter, or I'm going to make this kind of movement on the track. So I think a little bit more preparation, maybe a little bit more of in-race scenarios for him, and Daniel Thomas will be progressing quite well, because we know he has a pace. We've seen the pace from him week in and week out. We've seen the accident avoidance, working really well for him, but just making some better decisions, I think, would go a long way, and we'd see him on podiums quite regularly.
I think you're right. He's continually quick. It's just those mistakes. Consistency's been king throughout the season. We talked about it, I think, in the very first race, but consistency and speed together, and you have points. Awesome to see Gutnick out in front again here. We talked about just how fast he's been consistently over the last races at the beginning of the broadcast, and here it is. He's proving it out. He's in first position, with a comfortable gap.
Yep. We're going to pop up our battle box here. just to show Don Day what he's doing against Gutnick and what he's doing against Baukamp here. Actually, pop up our delta times here and see that Baukamp has decreased that gap from 2.8 seconds down to 0.8 seconds. He's gained 2 seconds on Don Day in the last 6 laps there.
Well, those are some good gains, Alex.
Yep, over a 40-lap race, if you're gaining 0.2 to 0.3 seconds per lap, that adds up really quickly. 0.3 times 40 laps, you're gaining 10 seconds on a guy.
That's right. We've seen that too. We've seen our leaders, Byron and Archer and them, come from the back to take a podium. Literally taking, 5/10, 6/10 out of everyone else's time every lap. So here we're seeing it again.
Yep, and we're seeing a little bit of slower laps from Gutnick. Don't know if nerves are getting to him or if he is just having a hard time with his car right now. If he was pushing it too hard, could have overheated those tires and seen a little bit of tire wear. But Baukamp made up some time, and Don Day has definitely made some time up on Alex Gutnick. Gutnick going 45.8, Don Day going 45.4. And then Baukamp going 45.1, 45.3 for Chris Byram, 45.7 for Schegeman, and 44.8 for Lewis Archer, who currently has the fastest lap of the race. Baukamp trying to make a little bit of a move, but he should be able to get a good move off here down the straight. Whoa, he doesn't quite have enough going into Brooklands, and he goes a little wide. That's that extra speed and that lifted wing. That's that understeer that you'll see when you're following in that draft. We have Chris Byram creeping up behind him too. You'll see him come into frame there. Yep, only a second and a half behind Baukamp, but this grid is starting to tighten up real quick. Gutnick only 0.8 seconds ahead of Don Day. Baukamp 0.7 seconds behind Don Day, and then Chris Byram 1.7 seconds behind. And Lewis Archer looks like he might be making a move on Schegeman. Ooh, Schegeman goes off, comes back on, is going to have to serve a slowdown. So
that
Schegeman,
should give Archer a window.
Yep, Schegeman serving his slowdown there. And Archer gets by easily because of that down the straight, and that'll open up a window of clean air for him to run behind and chase down his teammate, Chris Byram. Wow, this is going to be a tight race here. Not sure I expected this. We almost have a reverse grid.
And you never can tell, Alex. You never can tell what will happen.
Yeah, we saw Gutnick and Don Day putting down some good laps, but not the same type of laps that we saw Baukamp, Byram, and Archer putting down. And you can tell they're catching them now, and they're within 0.3 seconds Don Day of Alex Gutnick. So Gutnick just trying to fend off with the slipstream. I don't think that Don Day is going to be able to do anything, but Baukamp's thinking about it. And he's going to not go wide this time, and he is a foot, if that, away from the back of Don Day. He might try something through Copse here. He is that close to him. They are bumper to nose. Some understeer there, but they make it work through Copse. Going into Maggots and Beckett's, this is a real tight complex. No overtaking is going to be done here without any consequences. When we get real close with Ivan, Baukamp coming out of that turn and should be able to put a little bit of pressure in. Wow, we see Chris Byram just going by Ivan Baukamp. Baukamp might have had a little bit of an off track and has to serve a little bit of slowdown, but wow. Byram behind him now, side by side. And Baukamp's going to want that position back. He is going to fight tooth and nail. But he is right now in a coup-de-work sandwich. He has Chris Byram in front of him, Lewis Archer behind him, and they are both going to be hard to fend off.
Yeah, I think we're going to find ourselves in a draft chain right here pretty soon. We should have quite the train of people drafting off each other.
Yep, as we see Baukamp drafting real close to Byram. We see Shegetman real close to Archer. And we have Don Day real close to Gutnick. And when these guys start fighting each other and getting this close to each other, they slow each other down to the point of other cars that are in clean air are going to be able to catch them. And these tires are going to wear a lot more for the guys that are behind. So we have Don Day's tires are going to start heating up. We have Baukamp's tires will heat up. Shegetman's tires will heat up. And we might not see them be able to last as long as the guys that have that little bit cleaner air.
That's right. And we're seeing Archer push very hard to catch this group, too.
Very
that being
hard.
said, now he did pit earlier, so he could have taken fresh tires then. He could have put some fuel on. He might be able to run longer, as might Byram. So we might see a little bit of long running here as part of the strategy.
Yep, that might be, you always see it in Formula One, plan A plus 1, plus 2, plus 5, however many, and then you see plan B, plan C. That might be their plan B is, hey, something happened in turn 1. Go get repaired, get back out on the track, and run long. Try and make up that time, and then run a short stint at the end and try and, make up that time. They could have also gone the opposite route and said, hey, we want to, not take any fuel. We're doing a short fuel run, then we're going to go long. As we see Don Day having a little bit of a hang-up. Byram right behind him in third with Ivan Baukamp closing the gap there as well. Gutnick getting a little bit of a pull away here, and hopefully for Gutnick, he would like to see Don Day, Chris Byram, and Ivan Baukamp just fight each other hard and give him some clean air to run in. And Gutnick, losing a little bit of time there, and you can just see the difference in setups here. Gutnick has that straight line speed, but Don Day has that low speed corner speed to be able to catch up to Gutnick. And these cars are all within a half a second of each other. Don Day a little bit farther back, but this trio of cars, Don Day, Chris Byram, Ivan Baukamp, Lewis Archer pushing up behind too, with Cristiano Shegetman right on his tail. It's just, this is going to come down to any of this top 6 can win this race.
And this is just exciting to watch, this top 6 racing. I can tell you that having Byram right behind you is quite a thing to put your nerves on in, too. That guy is fast, he pushes hard, and just knowing he's right there ready to take advantage of your mistake. Oh, wow.
Yep, Don Day dropping down to 4th, and we have Chris Byram in 2nd now, running down Alex Gutnick, and he is hungry. Wow, what a turn of events here. The thing is, how fast can Byram catch Alex Gutnick? As we see Lewis Archer is in the pit lane. He's going for that little bit of an undercut. He's going to have to make those tires last 25 laps. Gutnick right now doing a good job just keeping that gap at 0.7 to 0.8. You can see the gap has gone down from 3.6 from Byram down to 0.86. And he's closing in. He's closing that gap really quickly. The top 5 all within drafting distance. We see them all there. Gutnick, Byram, Baukamp, Day, and Shegetman all right on top of each other. What a race. We're 15 laps in.
So fun to watch. Whew. Yeah.
I'm going to need a breather after this. We have Gutnick really pushing out front, but we see that gap going down with that slipstream within range for Byram. Baukamp the same, Don Day the same, and Shegetman the same. This is going to be a crazy next 25 laps. And with this closer racing, we could even see a middle of the race yellow flag if we have a big wreck with these top 5 guys that block the track, because everybody's behind them. Oh, as we see, I cursed him. I cursed him. This is bad. The broadcaster's curse has taken out Don Day. He's off the track, so no yellow. So I think we'll be carrying on. But wow, I didn't even get the words out of my mouth before the curse.
Yeah,
the curse
and,
hit.
quite a bit of damage to his car too. You know, he's lost his rear wing. He's got damage to the front end.
He just
real bad.
Let's see if there was any damage or any touching going on by any other cars. No, I think he just gets a little too much grass, gets on the throttle, and he just turns it coming out before the back straight there.
That's a collision like that. You're happy to have your Hans device attached to your helmet, keep your head from snapping forward.
Yeah, we hate to see that. Don was doing such a good job, but pushed it a little too hard. That slipstream might have been a little bit of a problem, giving him some understeer, making him go wide, and then just getting on the gas a little too much while touching the grass. It'll turn these cars. There's so much torque that wants to grab the track, and when there's not track to grab, it finds something to either spin or grab onto, and it's spun there.
That's right. The AstroTurf, you get a little grip, but that grass is just like ice.
Yeah, you might as well. I know it's December now. You might as well be driving in a winter wonderland when you're driving on the grass with these cars.
That's right.
Bouwkamp holding off Schegetman. Both Dutchmen here. Ooh, and Schegetman making a move inside. Ooh, can he make it stick? Almost contact, and we see Gutnick going into the pits here. As he slows down, he will have 24 laps to do. He goes into the pits. Let's see where he comes out. Louis Cologne coming up down the straight. Gutnick will probably be coming out of the pits as Scharzer or Archer comes by. Scharzer goes by there. Archer coming out of the final complex on the track. Gutnick coming out. They're going to be fighting. And here they are. Right out on top of each other. Gutnick can't get out before Archer gets by, and that will be a change in position for the end of the race. We're going to have to see Gutnick push, get those tires up to temp, and try and catch Louis Archer right now. We should see a little bit of tire degradation faster for Archer since he pitted two laps ago. And Gutnick has that little bit of an advantage, but being behind is such a huge upset there for Gutnick. Louis Archer, I'm sure, is happy as can be that he is in front of Gutnick and not stuck behind him. Byram is just going to use this time in that clean air to put down some real big laps. Byram still holding that 2 3/10 second now lead, making that gap just a little bit bigger each lap, holding off Bouwkamp. And Schegetman is now into the pit lane. He should come out somewhere by Gutnick and Archer, as we're going to see a lot of cars pitting now that the pit lane, the pit window is now open. Louis Cologne up into third, Corey Scharzer into fourth, Schegetman still dropping down. So you see him coming out of the pit lane. Let's see where he comes out. Archer coming by. Oh, just in front of Archer. On the inside, on cold tires, pushes Archer wide. They're going to do the old switch. Oh, Schegetman trying to keep it wide, keeping that slipstream. He gets in there. Going on the inside of Archer. Can Schegetman make it stick on these very cold tires? Brings it around to the outside, trying to keep Archer just right behind him. And Gutnick is liking what he's seeing because that's going to slow Archer up and give him the chance to close the gap. Schartz are right behind his teammate Louis Cologne as well. Ooh, and that gap increases to 1.1 seconds, so probably an off track for Schartz there. But Archer is just hungry to get by Schegetman here. Some good defending here. Louis Archer not wanting to let Cristiano just start running away from him now as tire temps get up. Gutnick trying to close that gap the slightest bit. You can see Beto's in the background as well. Just an insane amount of close racing going on here just to start this race. And Archer is going to have to figure out something to get around Schegetman, otherwise he's going to be in trouble trying to race down his teammate Chris Byron.
Byram has yet to pit, so he will be pitting at some point.
Yep, and this is normally the time that Archer is going to be trying to make up on these fresh tires, trying to make up time on Byram, but you know, Archer is just stuck behind Schegetman. He's in that dirty air. He's going to be scrubbing his tires a little bit more. He's got to think about that when, you know, all this comes to the end of the race, when everybody's done pitting and everybody's done, you know, with their strategy, and it comes down to just who's where on the track. It's going to be a bad position for Lewis to be in behind Schegetman, with, you know, his tires being scrubbed every lap a little bit more than they should be.
That's true. I mean, ooh, yeah.
Real close there. Archer trying to go a little bit wider, and we're going to see if he tries to move down here in the final complex of the track, and he does not. But he is going to stick right behind Schegetman. They both stay on the track nice and cleanly. Archer getting that slipstream. Following real closely, and I think this is going to be where he tries to make a move here. Ooh, has to brake a little bit too much. Cristiano taking that line away from him. Schegetman taking up a lot of track here, but Archer staying right there with him. Down to the end of the straight here. Archer's going to have some extra speed. Him and Schegetman putting on a big fight here. Archer closing that gap even more. Let's hope we don't have a repeat of a Dutchman and an Englishman in the cops here. Nope, they stay clean going out to Maggots and Beckett's. Louis Archer backs off just the slightest bit. Gives a little space for this part of the track just because it is such a fast, high speed. You know, there's no room for two cars while you're going through that section, so we can see.
I mean, turn 16 is probably going to be his next opportunity for a really good clean overtake.
Yep, as we see him get really, really close there to the back end of Schegetman. Ooh, and they're right there. Nose to tail. Let's hop on board with Archer. See what he's going through right now. There's a little bit of a gap. Ooh, Archer might have a little bit of a run down the inside coming out of that last turn there in turn that'd be 4. Going down to Brooklands now. Lewis Archer goes wider, tries to get that speed. Keeps it inside. He might have a couple more laps before he can really get a good run. Like you said, it might be turn 16.
I would guess 7 or 16. Potentially Brooklands is another one. Maybe not as easy there, but he does really need to be close enough to be able to make that jump on the overtake.
Yep, and this is a big one right here, coming out of Maggots and Beckett's. And, ooh, he gets a little bit of a slow exit, Archer does. But it's still within slipstream range, so he's going to be looking for some redemption on this next lap. It might be those tires starting to wear down faster than he hoped, with Schegeman running in clean air and Archer running in that dirty air behind him. And we still have yet to see a pit from Byram, Baukamp, or Cologne. Schartzer, I believe, pit due to some damage, but I might be wrong there. We can take a look at our pit stop. Run, yep, Schartzer has pit once. I believe that was due to the first lap incidents that we had going on. If we go to pit lap, yeah, we see Schartzer was on lap 1. Ooh, some bad contact here. Schegeman and Archer trying to get themselves going forward again. Gutnick. Ooh, Gutnick spins out too. What just happened here? What just happened?
Gutnick's got some damage there.
Yep, you can see some damage on Gutnick's car. What causes this here? We see him going into turn 3 here. Lewis gets the run on the outside, which gives him the run on the inside. Lewis gets a little bit of curb, which pushes him outside. And Cristiano Schegeman gets going again, but oof. Oh, Corey Schartzer gets into him. Corey Schartzer went off track. Goes to get back on track. Goes through some grass and oh no. Wow, that was a really bad re-entry there from Schartzer. He just drives right into the side of Gutnick. Nothing Gutnick can do there.
Yeah, that will likely be a penalty from the stewards after the race.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a penalty. Just a bad re-entry, not seeing who's coming down to the track, especially somebody who's fighting for the provisional lead there. He just runs right into the side of him. And this is going to be a big advantage for Byram. Yeah, Gutnick coming into the pits right now. You can see a lot of damage on that front wing. I'm not sure if he'll have a fast repair. He should have a fast repair, but this hurts him for any time he was trying to make up. You know, a pit lane stop, an extra one is really rough on a car.
Yeah, an incident like this at this point in the race is really pretty devastating. It's hard to come back from. You really do have to have that pace, and we'll see if he's got it.
We see Beddoes go by him.
Enough laps to make it up, though.
Bunting goes by him, so he's going to have to go through some traffic here. But you never give up. You never know what can happen. If there's a yellow, he's right back in it.
That's true. That's true. And all it takes is an incident up front, and you've got a switcheroo again.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, we're going to see Schegeman should have a little bit of damage from Archer, and Archer should have some damage from Schegeman. So there's going to be, a couple cars that might be a tenth or two slower because they were, had some damage in front of you. So that could be a thing that plays into it later. Byram has that big gap out front now. He's going long, like we had said, might be a good strategy to do. If he's gone this long, I would think he might try and just go all the way to a 30-second or a 30-lap stint. Just conserving those tires as much as he can out in that clean air. We see Archer is 3.5 seconds back. pushing, trying to catch up to Schegetman right now. Oh, and Schegetman spins it round. Archer is going to just go right on by. Schegetman pushing those tires a little bit too much. Archer up into third.
You know, it could be a combination of tires and some aero damage. Having not seen his car, there definitely was contact there, and he will have lost some of that downforce.
Yep, definitely could. And if you lose that downforce in the back end, that just allows your car to want to rotate that little bit more, slide more on the back. And when that happens, you're just extremely unstable on the track. So, as we see Gutnick make a pass on Beddoes, goes up into 7th. But it's going to be a big push here from Archer to try and close that gap to Byram, and he has to hope that Byram makes a mistake somewhere along the line. Same for Baukamp. He's got to hope that Byram makes a mistake somewhere along the line. Otherwise, I think Chris Byram might be walking away from this one as a winner of his home Grand Prix.
Well, just from the math, it's a pretty hard sell to think that Archer can get back up there, but you never know, like you said.
We have Bunting trying to catch up to Gutnick here, probably in the slipstream, enough to keep him within contention. But Gutnick up into 6th. He's making short work of some of these guys farther back in the field. Love seeing that view of the two cars, just down that straightaway. Such an iconic straightaway in view. I think Maggots and Beckett's is probably the most iconic couple of turns, other than maybe Eau Rouge at Spa. We also have the Parabolica at Monza. But just thinking about how much history and how much thought and effort is put into these turns that almost have taken on a personality of their own.
They definitely live in legend, don't they?
Right. It's almost like, we have the stories of old with, legends like, the Greek gods and Norse gods, and now we have the racing legendary turns and legendary drivers in, Senna and Hamilton and Schumacher. It's just another world of deification, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so true. And IFL is starting to have a few of those legendary drivers as well. We've seen Archer take championship, first place for the first F2 or F3 series, and right here fighting for the F2 series as well. It would be really interesting to see him take 2 championships in a row and in different tiers, and start to make that sort of legendary climb towards the heroic status that we see of drivers in the past.
Yep, and we see it with teams as well. The CUDA-Works team is right now the top team in IFL with a championship in the first season, a team championship for F2 in the second season, and a fight for the championship this season in the F3, which should come down to the last couple races here that we have, fighting off the RSR and Lumos teams to try and just clinch that and take it home. But it's going to take some big racing from the F3 drivers. It's almost like having a Ferrari or a McLaren or the Mercedes team in real life. We have CUDA-Works, we have Lumos, we have Turning Point. We have all these teams. We have Orion making a name for themselves. The BE Racing guys are always there. They're from the beginning have been there. Just some real iconic teams starting to happen here in a league of 40-50 people.
Yeah, it's really excellent to see, and I'm so excited to see this rivalry between Byram and Archer play out, and to see them split into separate teams this next season, especially if Byram can take the championship this season. Wow, how much more heated will that rivalry be when they are on separate teams? It's really, really exciting to think about.
Yep. Yeah, we see, this rivalry is between teammates. I mean, it's kind of like what we saw with, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Hamilton and Rosberg just fighting throughout the season. And, Rosberg takes it. And Hamilton's, primary driver, number one, Rosberg takes it from him. And, we have that right now. Lewis Archer was thought to be, Lewis is just that slightest bit faster than Byram. But we have right now, Byram has that chance to steal it from him. I mean, it's not unheard of to say that Chris Byram is potentially going to win this race as long as everything plays out fine and everything, stays clean. Byram has a really good chance of narrowing that gap from, like I said, I think it's at 22 points right now for the drivers' standings, to if he wins and gets fastest lap and has cleanest race, which I don't think he will due to his incident with Lewis Archer at the beginning of the race, that gap goes from 22 points to 15 points.
So, it's so true, and I mean, we would come down to the last race at that point, and how epic is that,
Yeah, you can't write it any better, Byram has to make up 15 points in the last race of the season. Archer has to just keep it on track and make it to where, he doesn't have that 15-point gap, and everything should be fine for him, and he can close it out in the final race. But as we saw, anything can happen today. We saw both of the guys fighting for that position are, in an accident in turn one, and then we have stuff going on later on in the race, accidents between Archer and Chegetman, and just craziness all around.
It really is, and honestly, like, from the start of the season, I would not have expected Byram necessarily to be in this position. He had just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck, but boy, is that turned around, and now we see him right here in the running for, the championship.
Yep, I think this will be win number 4 in a row if you were to get this, and it really is just a testament to Chris, and how much work and effort he's put into catching up to his teammate. It really is just impressive, to say the least. He, like I said, he's won 3 of the last races in a row, and he is just pushing, because he knows he can do it. He knows he can push Lewis out of championship. That's
right, and these are two drivers that know each other very well, have been racing together for years now, and the struggle between them is real. There is a real rivalry. They know what each other are capable of, and they're out here to race.
Yep, and we have, that bond of being, teammates for so long. It's, it's like racing your brother. You always are gonna race your brother. You love him, but at the same time, he's the one that you're gonna want to beat the most. He's the one that you're gonna want to, show, hey, I'm just as good as you are. In fact, I'm better. So, and I think Byram is trying to take it to his brother Lewis today.
I think you're right there. I'm sure they're enjoying every minute of it too.
Yep, yeah, and especially their teammates are going to be on comms together. So you got to have a little bit of smack talk going on. Between the teammates, especially they've already won the driver or the team championship. So being team championship winners, there's no risk to say, hey, if we take each other out, I'm not going to win the team championship. It's just they can race as hard and as long as they want in this, just because they don't have that worry of, well, we're sacrificing a team championship because we're trying to fight amongst each other. It's just, this is pure fun for them at this point.
That's right. I mean, if they both finish this race, really they don't have anything to worry about from Ivan. The only worry they would have is if both of them happen to be out, happen to get wrecked out or something, and their race was over without scoring points. Otherwise, the battle really is between them.
Yep, and at this point, 9th place, even if they cross the finish line, 9th place is the lowest they would go, so they would still score a couple points. And Ivan, I think, mathematically could do it, but realistically, with Byram and Archer being right there with them, I don't think it is a big thing to say that he is probably going to have to settle for 3rd.
Yeah, it would totally possible. You are right, and he is fast. He's a competitor, but it does look like it's going to be Byram or Archer.
And Byram is creeping up behind Gutnick. So Gutnick, even on fresher tires, he might have a little bit extra fuel if he never switches fuel off, but even so, Byram still catches. We have Archer with the fastest lap, a 1:44.1. Let's actually take a look at everybody's fastest lap here really quickly. Yep, and Archer is taking it with a 1:44.1, a 1:44.2 from Chris Byram, a 1:44.2 from Christiana Schegemann. And there goes Gutnick letting Byram by with a little bit of a toe. That might help Byram try and snag a little bit more of a quick lap. Yeah, Archer with a full second almost faster than Baukamp. And let's jump to them because Archer might be closing the gap on Baukamp, and Baukamp still has yet to pit, I think, for the second part of this race. Let's take a look at pit stops here. With our pit lap next to it. So Baukamp stopped on lap 2, Byram stopped on lap 1, which means they are going to definitely have to pit. The big question is, has Byram put enough of a gap in between himself and Archer? Silverstone is such a long straight pit lane. It could just be that Byram has not put enough time, and Archer will have those fresh tires and will be able to put a good push on the back of Byram.
It's certainly going to be close.
Look at our gap here right now. Baukamp is 16 seconds behind the leader, Chris Byram, which both of them have to pit. But the big question is that 45-second gap going to be enough for Chris Byram? I would think so, seeing as Lewis Archer had that incident with Schegemann that probably threw another 10 seconds onto the back of his laps. If he was at 35 to 30 seconds, it might be another story between a fight for Chris Byram and Lewis Archer, but Byram just killing it today.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good drive.
And we see Gutnick not giving up. We love to see that kind of mentality. Never give up. Never, just pull it into the pits and say, oh, sorry, yep, I'm done. We love to see a driver keep going, because if he gives up, he's only getting 2 points back in 9th place and then quitting out of the race. He keeps going. Now he stays in 6th. He's getting some okay points, a lot more than he would have gotten if you quit the race.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, but this is racing, right? You do not give up until the race is over. Your car cannot drive.
Yep, you never know what last lap heroics and antics can go on. So it really is a mystery, and we have 8 laps to go. We still have yet to see Byram come into the pits. I know he probably topped off, from the sounds of it, at the end of lap 1 when he was getting his toe back to the pits, but just unbelievable performance to be in lap 1 wreck, towed back to the pits, and now you're out in front running with the lead.
Yeah, Chris Byram has made these climbs multiple times over the course of the season. You've seen him come, from midfield, from backfield, and consistently been able to catch the leaders, get to the front, and really make a go for it, and win from the back.
Yep. Yeah, it's not an easy feat to do, by any means. It is a really hard feat to accomplish. Coming from the back, making your way through the grid. And trying to pass drivers is a real difficult thing to do. He had to try and pass some really fast drivers, and Ivan Baukamp and Christiana Schegemann and Louis Cologne, Gutnick, who was running great until he got plowed into by a car re-entering the track, and just little things that can really make or break your race. And I think the only things that could hurt Chris Byram at this point are penalties if he has too many off tracks, which we've seen before. You have a 40-second stop and go penalty for 16 off tracks, and with the driver collision that we saw at the beginning, that is at least 4, if not another 1 for having an off track when he went off the track due to that collision. But it's 4 from that. If you go wide, that's another 1. If you have 16 of those, you could be looking at a 40-second penalty, which would be really devastating for Byram. And these track limits are key and are crucial to keeping a nice clean race. And if you start getting a higher amount of them, it'll stress you out during the race to say, hey, I can't go wide. I can't, push in this corner because I get so close to going wide. And
that's it, right? You get nervous about pushing at that point, and then you're not using the track limits. You're not really getting the exits that you need. It can really put a hamper on your speed and your lap times.
Yep, and then it can also put you in positions that you normally don't hit. As we see Byram go into the pits here, this is going to be crucial to make sure he does not come into the pits too quickly.
Well, looks like that was a pretty good pit entry.
And he comes in, no penalty that we can see.
Looks like Balcamp's coming in as well.
Yep. I think this is probably the limit as to what they could have pushed it to. See Byram go up, get his tires, get fuel, and he is off. No penalties to serve. We have Balcamp coming down the straight. Archer is going to fly by him and take second here. And this gap's a lot closer than I thought it would be. 13.4 seconds for Archer to try and make up in 6 laps. Byram is pushing, and he has cold tires, so let's hope that he's able to make things stick. You see he goes a little bit wide there.
Here's the exact rivalry we were looking for, Alex. We're going to see Byram and Lewis going at it.
Yep, down to 13.5. And those tires just have to get heated up right now. It needs to be really, really fast, really quick heating of these tires to keep it interesting here for Chris Byram, because Lewis Archer is dropping at least a half a second a lap. We saw him coming out of the pits and going by the pit lane for Archer, and he was gaining full seconds at a time. Went from 45 seconds to 5 seconds here. Yep, down to within the 12-second line there. So Byram just has to hold it together for another 5 laps. As he crosses the line there, 6 laps actually. And it has been pointed out to us that Lewis had something go wrong somewhere along the line, that he was down to a 30-second gap and then got pushed up to a 45-second gap, which might have been our contact with Cristiano Schegetman. But Lewis was running that gap down quite a bit. And we're just going to keep an eye on these 2 leaders here to see if anything changes. Like we said, Lewis has those hot tires, up the temp, pushing. Byram has those cold tires, which leaves him open for mistakes. But just naturally faster with the hot tires, Lewis Archer's slowly pulling the gap down. 9.2 at this second between him and Baukamp. 12.4 right now for Archer and Byram. And this race really spread out as we saw a couple incidents happening on track. Everybody on average about 15 seconds apart from each other running in nice open air.
Sure did. This should be a comfortable drive for Chris at this point.
Yeah, he might come up on some lap traffic. We look ahead. Our closest here is Steve Bunting, and you can see Chris Byram in the background. Steve Bunting's normally good at letting people by and, you know, adhering to the blue flag standard. So there goes Chris Byram. And Lewis Archer, he can smell Chris Byram. He's so close. He sees him going by on the next turn in the next complex just because they come so close on track physically. It's just heartbreaking to see. You can see him. He's that close. You can see him, but you just know you're not going to be able to get there.
How painful is that?
It's really hard to get past that mentally and just say, okay, I'm just gonna put my head down instead of being like, no, you know, we're that close, we got to get it. So as long as Chris is clean, like I said, he'll have a nice little celebration here, but he has to just make sure he's clean when he gets by Steve Bunting here. If he does, he's still got a 4 and changed laps to go to really push and try and increase this gap on Lewis Archer, and make sure Archer does not have anything for him. But we've seen spins on the last lap. We've seen people run out of fuel. We've seen just about everything under the sun happen.
Yeah, we sure have. And that doesn't take into account equipment failures and other types of incidents that can happen outside of the race.
Yep. Yeah, even myself. Oh, Baukamp into the pits, it says. Hold up. Baukamp into the pits. I do not know why. It doesn't look like he has any damage on his car. Maybe he had an off track trying to push too hard like we were talking about earlier. Let's see let's see what happens.
Staying in the drive-through lane here.
Yeah, he had a drive-through penalty. That is rough. Because that puts him within striking distance of... Actually, Louis Colon actually passed him. Colon is now on the podium, as long as he stays right where he's at.
Look at that. And there you have it, those unexpected events at the end of the race.
Yep, like I said, just... Even though, you know, everybody's 15 seconds apart, everybody is pushing. And, you know, you push a little too hard, go a little bit wide in the turn, and all of a sudden you're 16x. And 16x means, oh no, I got to go do a drive-through penalty like Ivan just served there. And that just killed his chance at a podium, because now you have Louis Colon right out in front. You can see him just 5 seconds ahead. And Baukamp is trying to push, trying to get that time back. And Colon, though, is a veteran driver in the league. He is not going to let it happen. And if Baukamp can somehow find a way to push up and get within striking distance, it's not going to be an easy feat to try and overtake him.
And he just doesn't have that much time to do it either.
Right, he's got 2 laps to make up 5 seconds. You know, it's not going to be easy. Technically 2.5, 3 laps. And that's the thing is, you know, Louis Cologne is one of those drivers. He's one of our veteran drivers, and he is very smooth throughout the race. He might have an incident here or there, but he's very smooth, very clean, and end of the race, we might not have been thinking it at the beginning of the race because of where he had qualified, but he's normally fairly quick, but he always finds a way to get himself up into the top 5. He is probably our most consistent top 5 finisher other than Archer and Byram, which is really saying something. It's a real testament to his consistency.
And I mean, he started at race 1 too. He was right there on the podium race 1 at Monza.
Yep. Yeah, and if we even go farther back, he was there for race 1 of IFL altogether, last season's F3. He has been in, I think, every single one of our GP races, unless he's had to miss for home reasons, personal reasons, but he's been there through it all. So he's got the most experience that you can possibly have in this league.
That's right, and I think he started this season off with the podium as well.
Yep. And he's kind of like if we're comparing F1 drivers, he's kind of like how Lando Norris has been this past season, where he's just always scoring points, and he's always up in that top 5 section. Maybe not as fast as Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and Lewis Archer and Chris Byram, but he's always right there, always taking podiums, always taking top 5s. It's just awesome to see he's made his way up into a podium spot. Ivan, one of those really fast drivers as well, that's always in that top 5 sector. So great to see these guys, making it a little closer at the end here. Ivan pushing as hard as he can to narrow that gap with a lap and a half left, but I don't think he's going to have enough to be able to do it unless unless Cologne messes up in some way.
Very close.
As we see, let's find ourselves Chris Byram here. He's coming to the last couple turns of the lap. And we can see Archer's been making up a little bit of time each lap, but just not enough on Chris Byram right now as we go into our final lap. White flag is flying. Can Chris hold on for one more lap here? Because I would believe a slide or a too much curb would bring him right alongside Chris Archer. Or Lewis Archer. Whew. Imagine the talent of both these guys smashed together into a Chris Archer.
Well, it will be no more as they split into rival teams, that's for sure. It will not be the Lewis Archer, Chris Byram, dominating the podium. On the same team, at least.
Yeah, I think we'll have a much more, spread out fight now that we're taking these two top drivers and spreading them between two different teams that, not only will they have, not each other to rely on for points, but now they're going to have another driver, whoever that may be, that joins them in their team. It could be, a driver that doesn't get points consistently every single week like they've seen with each other. So it might not come down to, Chris and Lewis. It could come down to the secondary drivers, kind of like we see in real life, once again, comparing the two with a Checo Perez and a Valtteri Bottas. That secondary driver could prove to be a huge factor for team championship, and then they're going to fight for that driver championship for sure. And we are seeing Chris Byram coming through the last turn, being safe, and here he is. Chris Byram, the winner of our British Grand Prix, and pushing closer and closer to that Drivers' Championship as we see Lewis Archer coming across in second. Big push there. Great job from Lewis Archer. A couple mishaps, couple accidents happening, but you can't win them all. And he really pushed and tried his best to combat, but when you're fighting traffic and fighting other drivers around you, anything can happen. And we see Louis Cologne coming across the line here. The beautiful sight there. Takes home third. The last and final podium position here at the British Grand Prix. Ivan Baukamp, Cristiano Schegemann, the two Dutchmen coming across fourth and fifth. Great showing from them. Gutnick coming across in the final sector here. Such an unlucky race for him with lap, not
Really
even lap
was.
traffic. I think they were on the lead lap, Scharzer, but just some unfortunate mishaps there. Put him back needing a tow and really just making it hard to compete for the top spot there. But great job for him to continue on and take sixth. As we see Rob Sliders cross the line as well, taking up seventh. We already saw Steve Bunting and Eric Beddoes. Steve Bunting there. Eric Beddoes a little farther back has crossed the line. There he is there. Great job from these racers.
Yeah, great race today, Alex. This was a fun one to watch. We had some close racing early on, and then, at the end here, we had a bit of a surprise twist with Cologne taking one of the podium positions.
Yep,
Pretty
yeah,
awesome.
a little bit of a twist. Great to see him up there again. Like I said, he's very consistent, so great to see. And we'll get these podium drivers in here for interviews in just a moment. All right, we are going to be talking to our third place finish, Louis Cologne, here in just a moment. Pop up our results here for the race. And let's pull in Louis Cologne and give him a little bit of a rundown of what's going on here. Louis, how was that race for you, taking home a third place here in Silverstone? How'd that feel?
Absolutely exhausting, man.
Yeah, it was a long race, 40 laps there, with some long laps at Silverstone, running into 140s for laps. But at the end of the race, you're running in fourth, and all of a sudden, Baukamp has a drive-through, and you jump in front of him. What's going through your mind there?
Nothing was really going through my mind. I mean, it was absolute luck, I guess. I tried to do the best driving that I could, but only held a 12x, so my thing was just try not to mess that up, just salvage what I could of my race.
Yep, yeah, we were talking about it on the broadcast, how important the off tracks and the incident points are when you hit that 16x. When you hit that 16x, you got to take that penalty, but it plays on a driver, like you just said. It gets into your head of, okay, now I gotta not take those corners so high speed. I gotta get a little bit more under control, maybe take a little bit off of my faster lap times, and then it makes it really hard to try and track somebody down. So I think
Exactly.
Ivan was pushing up behind Archer, and I think he was trying to close the gap as much as he could, but just push it just a little too far.
Yeah, we all make that mistakes when we're trying to hunt somebody down, and like you said, it just comes back and it bites you right in the ass.
Yep. So early on in the race, turn one, and then later on in Maggots and Beckett's on lap one, that was a little bit of chaos going on there. What was going through your head through all that?
Oh, the moment I seen everybody go off, man, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna pull an Alonso and just try to go on this little escape road over here and just try not to get collected with anything. So that's exactly what I did. Re-entering was kind of a pain in the ass because of the grass and the AstroTurf, but found my way back onto the track. But I was in a really tough spot with all the traffic, so yeah, it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's a scary one when that happens, and you have all this traffic going off in front of you, and really just making for a not so fun experience. You're just dodging
Absolutely.
traffic. I mean, you had Gutnick jump in front of you. We're watching it now on the stream. Gutnick jumping in front of you, and just some chaos ensuing from there. It
Oh yeah,
just
when I
is.
seen the two CUDA cars get into it in turn one, I was like, nope, let me go all the way around. I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, as we're looking at it now, we got the CUDA cars going off, Ivan bumping into one of the CUDA cars and Chris Byram, and you just stay safe and try and go as wide as you can. Almost got Ivan Baukamp there, but good job of avoiding. But once again, that adds into the number of X's that you get for going off track. So
Absolutely, absolutely. It was like lap three or so. I looked down and I seen that I had 7x from doing all of this stuff right where that turn one is, and then going
yep.
back around over there. Yeah, I collected so many incidents right there. It was ridiculous. So from that point on, it was just, damage mitigation, just trying to keep it as safe as possible.
Yep. Yeah, and just at that point it starts to become a little harder because, like you said, it's damage control. You're trying to just get through a lap, get things running the way you want it to, get in some clean air, and keep going. And you did a great job of, keeping things going and really just making this race a little exciting there at the end with Ivan having to come in and just taking third. you know, and you've been in those top five positions all season. Getting some really great finishes. So congrats
Oh,
on the whole season so far. One more race left um, over in
yeah.
Hungary. So what are you guys planning on for that race?
Well, I'm just gonna try to get as much practice as I possibly can in because honestly, I'm trying to struggle with my wheel. I'm waiting to get my replacement in soon, hopefully, and just gonna try to keep my head down and do what I can for this last race. I mean, obviously, I can't get into a lot of points, but if I could find a way to get in front of Ivan in the driver standings, then that'd make me happy. But honestly, I'm gonna have to fight for it in this last race.
Yep, and we see the fight between Byram and Archer getting even more heated now
Oh
with
yeah,
with the win from Byram. That just brings him even closer to Archer in the standings. And then now
absolutely.
with you finishing ahead of Ivan Baukamp, it brings you even closer to Baukamp in the standings. So we have a couple battles going on for drivers. You trying to get that third spot, Byram trying to
Absolutely.
fight for that first spot. So we should see some fireworks here in the last race.
Oh yeah.
But congrats again. Any shout outs you want to give?
Not this week. I'm pretty damn tired, so I really don't have a lot on my mind right now. So,
All good. Well, we'll leave you to get a little bit of rest. Get some
oh yeah,
celebrations going with the team, and we'll
absolutely.
see.
Thank you, man.
We'll see you next week over in Hungary.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, great to see you up there on the podium again, Luis.
appreciate it, man.
All right, and we are going to now. It doesn't look like Lewis Archer is in here in our broadcast room. So right now we are going to pull in our race winner, Chris Byram. Chris, my man, how does it feel?
4 wins in a row, baby.
4 in a row.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Hey, 13 points. So I think I took fastest lap and safety point as well. So that gives me 27 points. So that 22 is now down to 13. So it goes down to the wire. Looking forward to it.
Yep, it's going to be last race fireworks. We were just talking with Cologne about it. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We have the third place standings up for grabs still, and the championship up for grabs with you and teammate Lewis. So what are you guys planning going into this last race here?
Just win, mate. That's the plan. Go in, win.
foot down, pedal all the way to the floor the whole time.
Yeah, that's all I can do really. All I can do is go and win and just hope that Lewis has another bad day. Either gets caught up in some trouble or whatever, but
yep,
I need to make sure he's off the podium and then the championship's mine.
Yep, and we saw, turn one, you got a little bump from Lewis, and that really threw a wrench in a nice clean, just running first the whole race. You had to really work for it.
I didn't think I'd be able to recover. I was very, very lucky to have the safety car. I've not watched it back yet, so pulling off, Lewis got a better start than me, but because I've got pole, I've got the advantage, so I've pulled over, squeezed him off, I've still got the advantage.
Yep.
I just hit from behind. I wasn't expecting it, to be fair, so
yep,
I was caught up in that and went into the side of me too, so
yep, we
had to tow back, so it was like 3 minutes or 4 minutes to tow back, and then I was just thinking, oh, it's gone, mate, it's gone. But safety car come out, so then on my lap out, I just absolutely just floored it to catch it back to the grid, and just thought, I need to make my way through, I need to do it. That's what I tried to do, tried to chop through the field.
And successfully, might I add, because you are sitting on our podium right now. So
exactly. I mean, I had the pace. I was practicing in this car all week, and I've had really, really good pace. So the win was 100% always on the cards here. So I just feel like I've got a bit of extra wind in my sails now. Like it's all Lewis's to lose. The pressure's on him, no pressure on me. You know what I mean? Pressure on the reigning F3 champ to try and retain 2 back-to-back titles, and the 76 gaps now come down to 13. So pressure's on.
Yep, yeah, it's gonna be. It is Lewis Archer's to lose. A big incident that happened to Maggots and Beckett's is what gave the safety car on lap 1. 3 or 4 cars involved sliding across the track there, so it is pretty fortunate for that to happen. But it just everything kind of fell into place, and it's gonna, like I said, make for some real big fireworks at the end. I think you will have to win by, I think it's close to 12 to 13 points at this point.
It's 13 points.
13 points. So I think we're gonna have to, he'll have to get third or lower, and you'll have to get first with a fast lap and a safety. So it's gonna be. We know he has the pace to get up there. Obviously, you got second today. What's going to be the big play to try and fend off your teammate? Because you guys have already got the team championship, so at this point it's just, driving for fun. You guys are driving for the reputation of driver. So anything on your mind that you're going to try during the race?
I've got a few things in mind, but I'm not going to divulge those. You know what I mean? I can't give away my hand, can I? So I've got a couple of ideas. So.
No turn one dive bombs, hopefully, but we talked about it.
The thing is that Lewis is going to get pole for that. He's not going to get pole.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to get pole. I'm going to pull away. Well, get swamped up.
If it goes like the past few weeks have, you will be right up there in that pole position and really pushing him to make some mistakes. And try and just keep up. But we talked about it a little bit during the broadcast off of the Lewis and Chris fight. Next year you'll be, starting your own team. We talked about it a little bit, how you guys are going to have a rivalry that continues now, not just in the Drivers' Championship, but the team championship as well. Have you guys figured out drivers yet for our teams next year that we'll see going head to head?
So, I believe Kuda has it. I think you can see within the Discord channel that there's a lot of teams that are running. I think that driver selection's finished. Ivan's going to be my teammate next season. I think he's done fantastically well over this season. He's really improved as a driver, and he's very quick. So I've poached Ivan out of the Kuda team, and he'll be joining Sim Sharks. And to be honest, if anyone else wants to join, we can set up a second Evo team, not a problem. But the aim of the game is to win the Constructors and win the Drivers' Championship. That's it completely. And I think with both Ivan and me at the helm, it's a task that I think we can complete.
Well, that is awesome to hear. It'll be a fun a fun season next year to see, exactly what we're going to have going on and see how that unfolds. But first, we got to finish off in Hungary. So any shout outs you want to give here, Chris, before we sign off?
Just to everyone, fantastic grid, fantastic coverage. It's a good league to be in, so just keep up all the great work. It's an honour to race in this league. It's fantastic, so thank you.
Yep, we thank you as well. All the drivers, all the sponsors with Butt Kicker, Designs Ltd, Majors Garage, newly picked up Demon Tweaks, and Automotive News GR. We thank everybody for their efforts. And Chris, once again, congrats. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Any final words, Eli, before we sign off here?
Well, I just, I hope everybody tunes back in for the next race, the last race of the season. It's bound to be an exciting one. Our championship's going to go right to the end, which I think is what we were hoping for at the beginning of today's race, and here it is delivered, Alex. So I, for one, I'm extremely excited for this last race of the season to see how this championship shapes up.
Yep, yeah, we should see, like we've said multiple times, a big finish. Next week, we're going to see tensions flaring that will probably carry into our next season of IFL. So we hope that we see all of you guys out there in the YouTube crowd. And once again, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to the drivers and the admins, everybody that helps put this on and make this happen. All the viewers, we love seeing you guys throwing in your input during the race. So we will see you guys over in Hungary. And tomorrow we also have our F3 Silverstone race, which is tight in the standings for a constructors championship. The drivers championship has already been decided. Congrats to Caitlin Height on that. But we still have racing to do for teams. So hopefully we see some of you guys out there for that as well. We hope you tune in. But until then, we will see you next week.